That's all it is. Your inhibitions are relaxed and shows your true self, and hopefully you're more joyous and friendly and happy and
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Structural, mechanical, electrical, software. Electrical, mechanical, structural, software. Structural, mechanical, electrical, software.
There's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
Dance for me, dance for me,
Elon.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
dance for me.
Elon Musk. How often do you smoke it?
Almost never. Almost never. Almost never. I'm not a regular smoker of weed.
A little sip here and there, and your inhibitions are relaxed. Hopefully you're more. There's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Alien.
There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is. Your inhibitions are relaxed and shows your true self, and hopefully you're more joyous and friendly and happy and
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Structural, mechanical, electrical, software. Electrical, mechanical, structural, software. Structural, mechanical, electrical, software.
there's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
Dance for me, dance for me,
Elon.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
dance for me.
Elon Musk. How often do you smoke it?
Almost never. Almost never. Almost never. I'm not a regular smoker of weed.
A little sip here and there, and your inhibitions are relaxed. Hopefully you're more. There's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Alien.
Aliens.
Alien.
Aliens. We've been abducted by
Alien.
We've been abducted by
Alien.
We've been abducted by
Alien.
Stock market. Up and down.
Marijuana is wonderful.
It's legal, right?
No, fuck that. No, fuck that. No, fuck that. No, fuck that. It's all good though.
Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed?
There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is. Your inhibitions are relaxed and shows your true self, and hopefully you're more joyous and friendly and happy and
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. you doing smoking weed? Structural, mechanical, electrical, software. Electrical, mechanical, structural, software. Structural, mechanical, electrical, software.
There's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
Dance for me. Dance for me.
Elon.
Make this car dance. Car dance.
Dance for me.
Elon Musk. How often do you smoke it?
Almost never. Almost never. Almost never. I'm not a regular smoker of weed.
A little sip here and there, and your inhibitions are relaxed. Hopefully you're more... There's one motherfucker, Elon Musk.
Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. What the hell are you doing smoking weed? Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Smoking weed. Alien. Alien.
Alien. Aliens.
Alien.
Aliens.
Alien.
Aliens. We've been abducted by
Alien.
We've been abducted by
Alien.
We've been abducted by
Alien.
Stock market. Stock market. Stock market. Up and down. Up and down.
Marijuana is wonderful.
It's legal, right?
No, fuck that. No, fuck that. No, fuck that. No, fuck that.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine. So it's really
Oh, shut the fuck up, Elon.
tough.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
You know, maybe they are closer to developing a robot than I thought. Look at how good Elon has simulated human emotion. That's pretty good. Jesus Christ. Alright, hi everyone, welcome to the stream. Today, we're going to be watching Tesla's AI Day stream that happened yesterday. For those who didn't see it, there were some pretty hilarious parts. They're scamming people and acting like they've created sci-fi robots. So we'll laugh at that. Other than that, we're just going to hang out and have a good time. So, hope you're all doing well. Desk Lang, thanks for 5 months. Tetsu Fox, thanks for 8 months. Darth Hayes says, last of my bits, hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well too. Red Werewolf says, I'm officially on vacation for the next week, so have some bits to celebrate. Thank you. Kirthan with 100 bits says, let's hype this train. You want a Tesla sex bot? Someone asks about that during the Q&A portion, so we'll, I think he says something along the lines of, like, Elon, will your robots feel emotion? Will they love me? Like, oh, God. Even if it did love you, I don't think it wants you to come in its servos, okay? 76% to level 1 of the hype train. I'm just not going to waste any time. We can do the hype train while we watch this. It's a long presentation, so let's just get it going.
Hello everyone, sorry for the delay. Thanks for coming. And
I'll turn it up, I know it's a little quiet.
We'll need AI for this. So what we want to show today is that Tesla is much more than an electric car company.
So, for those who don't know my relationship with Tesla, or rather just my feelings on Tesla, I hate Elon Musk. I hate him with a passion. I think the stock is incredibly overpriced. I think he's a con artist. I think he's a fake nerd. And I think he sucks. I think he sucks a big one. I think he mistreats his employees. He doesn't like unions. He's just a big piece of shit. I don't like Elon.
That we have deep AI activity in hardware on the inference level, on the training level, and basically, I think arguably the leaders in real-world AI as it applies to the real world.
He believes that his car company is the world leader in AI development. I don't know if Elon is legitimately that dumb or if he's grifting, because he does both. He thinks he's smarter than he is, but at the same time, he is also a grifter. So it's pretty hard to determine when he's grifting or when he has legitimately convinced himself of something that is not true. It's hard to say. Chrysia says, got into it with one of those weird Elon defenders on your Twitter post. I know, they're very strange. A Colston says, as a comp sci grad, the thing I hate the most about Elon simps is how they bastardize AI. It's like a flat earther explaining how the world works to a physicist. Yeah, their entire... And I'm going to be out right here, too. I'm a layman, a laywoman. I don't know anything about actual real-world AI or machine learning. But the thing is, neither does Elon Musk. That's not what he has degrees in. That's not what he has training in. He has no idea what he's talking about. And the Elon fans and Elon himself seem to get their entire idea of AI from, like, sci-fi movies and books. So, you know, not great. Gertha Kitt. That's a good name. Speaking of Catwoman. Gertha Kitt says, Hanny, your hair looked great today. Thank you. Bumble Homestead says, I cannot believe people are still falling for Elon's shit. X Flowers for Brains, thanks for 6 months of Prime. Blackwing Hecty says, if people are going to make artificial life forms, can we get cats or dogs? 74Quinn74 says, I'm excited to show parts of this stream to my partner who thinks, quote, Elon Musk is an asshole, but he's brilliant, end quote. Also, did I hear you imply the hype train is a waste of time? The hype train is not a waste of time. The hype train sustains me, minions.
And those of you who have seen the full self-driving beta...
There's no captions on this, by the way, otherwise I would turn them on. I'm sorry. Speedy Yoshi with a link. Yeah, I've seen this. Weird nerds jumping in front of a bullet for Elon Musk. Yep.
Can appreciate the rate at which the Tesla neural net is learning to drive. And so this is...
For context, Elon Musk back in like 2015 said that a Tesla was going to be able to drive from the East Coast to the West Coast, or the West Coast to the East Coast. I don't remember. Basically, he said that a Tesla would be able to drive across the country all on its own with no human interference, which would be like level 5 autonomy in terms of self-driving. It gets rated on a scale of 1 to 5. I guess 0 to 5 if 0 is no self-driving. Level 5 is basically you don't even need a steering wheel, and Elon has been saying that they are capable of that and going to be capable of that basically every year since 2017, and they're not even fucking close. So it just frustrates me that people are buying this. They pumped the stock price off of the idea of, in 2020, we're going to have 1 million robo-taxis on the road, and buying a Tesla is an investment because you can buy it and then you can send it out to do Uber or Lyft for you, and you don't even have to be there, and it'll just make money passively. It's a scam. It's a scam. They're an electric car company that's valued like Apple, but like super Apple. It's so frustrating. Speedy Yoshi with another link. Elon Musk, weird nerds in your mentions. 49% of level 2 with under a minute left. I don't think we're going to do the hype train today.
Particular application of AI, but I think there are more applications down the road that will make sense, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation. But yeah, we basically want to encourage anyone who is interested in solving real-world AI problems at either the hardware or the software level to join Tesla, or consider joining Tesla.
What is this, a fucking recruitment drive? Elon, this is your AI Day. You're supposed to come out and be like, here's all the amazing things we're doing with AI, and we're the leaders in the field. But instead you're coming out and you're being like, by the way, if anyone knows anything about AI or wants to solve our problems, please come join us. Okay. eTune, thanks for 1,000 bits. Kingdom Reborn with 7 months says, thanks, Hannah, for your stream. Colston says, don't worry, Hannah, exponentially more people hate him now than a year ago. We gotta bump those numbers up. Speedy Yoshi says, not to derail things, but did you hear about Destiny? Oh my god. Okay, 2 things about the Destiny thing. First of all, I honestly kind of feel bad for him, which is hard to do. Destiny's kind of a terrible person, but I don't think anyone should have to deal with what Destiny's dealing with right now. And 2, it's the funniest thing I've ever fucking heard. Did you guys hear about the Destiny thing? Don't look it up yet. I just want to know, who here heard about the Destiny thing? Guys, Destiny accidentally took meth, and he's currently tweaking. He had to cancel a debate because he was trying to buy ecstasy from someone, and they sold him crystal meth. And he took the crystal meth, and he's been tweaking for 32 hours. So, yeah. Psychotropic Thunder says, even if the tech was there for level 5 self-driving, the regulation is so far behind that it'll be years before what he's promising is even legal. Probably true, but he's kind of hidden behind that before too, and been like, no, we would totally do level 5 if we just had approval, when really he doesn't. They don't have that technology.
So let's see, we'll start off with...
Lily Love Stuff with 30 bits says, and this is why you use the drug testing kit, kids. Apparently he did, and it said it was fine. Wasn't fine.
Andre?
33% to level 3.
Yep. Great.
I think never mind. Okay, hi everyone. Is my mic on? I hope so.
If not, I can give you mine.
Okay, great. It doesn't sound like it?
Yeah, there goes.
Okay, hello. Great. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome. My name is Andre, and I lead the vision team here at Tesla Autopilot, and I'm incredibly excited to be here to kick off this section, giving you a technical deep dive into the Autopilot stack and showing you all the under-the-hood components that go into making the car drive all by itself. So we're going to start off with the vision component here. Now, in the vision component, what we're trying to do is we're trying to design a neural network that processes the raw information, which in our case is the 8 cameras that are positioned around the vehicle.
This is weird, too. So Tesla, I would imagine everyone knows Tesla, that really touts their, like, autopilot, and the idea that you can basically, you know, have the car drive itself, even though it's asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. No, it can't. Keep your hands on the wheel at all times. But, of course, Tesla fanboys don't listen, and there have been a variety of accidents where the person wasn't paying attention or was doing other things. I've seen one where a guy was asleep in the back seat of his Tesla while it was driving down the highway. And their system sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to discount the fact that, like, in terms of, like, a driver assist feature, it's awesome, but they're not saying, buy our new Tesla, we have really good driver assist features. They're saying, buy Teslas, we have autopilot and full self-driving, which is incredibly misleading and causes people to get into accidents. Meanwhile, you have companies like Waymo, which is owned by Google, or rather Alphabet, I think they're called now, who use things like LiDAR and other sensors to try and help the car suss out what's going on around it. Whereas Tesla just decided, and Tesla used to even have a radar functionality for their self-driving, which they recently deactivated, and are just using cameras. They're trying to have a car drive itself just using cameras and no other sensors. That's such a bad idea. Speedy Yoshi says, can we just imagine a world where Elon is in jail for the shit he did with COVID in his factories? I want to live in that world.
And they send us images, and we need to process that in real time into what we call the vector space. And this is a three-dimensional representation of everything you need for driving. So this is the three-dimensional positions of lines, edges, curbs, traffic signs, traffic lights, cars, their positions, orientations, depths, velocities, and so on. So here I'm showing a video of, actually, hold on. Apologies. So here I'm showing the video of the raw inputs that come into the stack, and then the neural network processes that into the vector space. And you are seeing parts of that vector space rendered in the instrument cluster on the car.
I just don't understand the thing on the right where it's, you know, the vector space or whatever. I don't know how people look at that and go, and again, I don't mean to act as though it's not impressive at all. Of course it is, the fact that they were even develop it this much. But, like, do you see how wobbly and shifty everything is in the image? Why would you trust that program to drive your car?
Now, what I find kind of fascinating about this is that we are effectively building a synthetic animal.
Look, the brain has connections, and so does our computer. So we're building a brain, you know, like Data from Star Trek. Jesus Christ.
From the ground up. So the car can be thought of as an animal. It moves around, it senses the environment, and acts autonomously and intelligently. And we are building all of the components from scratch in-house. So we are building, of course, all of the mechanical components of the body, the nervous system, which is all of the electrical components, and for our purposes, the brain of the Autopilot, and specifically for this section, the synthetic visual cortex. Now, the biological visual cortex actually has quite intricate structure and a number of areas that organize the information flow of this brain. And so in particular, in your visual cortices, the information hits the light, hits the retina, goes through the LGN all the way to the back of your visual cortex, goes through areas V1, V2, V4, the IT, the ventral and the dorsal streams. And
we understand that people have sensory organs, and then those sensory inputs are converted to signals that go to the corresponding place in the brain to be interpreted. We understand that. We also understand that your car has inputs, the cameras, that then take that information and send it to parts of the processor or whatever to be interpreted. We get it. That doesn't make it an animal.
And the information is organized in a certain layout. And
Speedy Yoshi says, I'd rather buy something from Aperture Science than Tesla.
And so when we are designing the visual cortex of the car, we also want to design the neural network architecture of how the information flows in the system. So the processing starts in the beginning when light hits our artificial retina, and we are going to process this information with neural networks. Now, I'm going to roughly organize this section chronologically. So starting off with some of the neural networks and what they looked like roughly 4 years ago when I joined the team, and how they have developed over time. So roughly 4 years ago, the car was mostly driving in a single lane, going forward on the highway, and so it had to keep lane, and it had to keep distance away from the car in front of us. And at that time, all of processing was only on individual image level. So a single image has to be analyzed by a neural net and make little pieces of the vector space, process that into little pieces of the vector space. So this processing took the following shape. We take a 1280 by 960 input, and this is 12-bit integers streaming in at roughly 36 hertz. Now we're going to process that with a neural network. So we instantiate a feature extractor backbone. In this case, we use residual neural networks. So we have a stem and a number of residual blocks connected in series. Now, the specific class of ResNets that we use are RegNets, because RegNets offer a very nice design space for neural networks because they allow you to very nicely trade off latency and accuracy. Now, these RegNets give us, as an output, a number of features at different resolutions and different scales. So in particular, on the very bottom of this feature hierarchy, we have very high resolution information with very low channel counts. And all the way at the top, we have low resolution spatially, but high channel counts. So on the bottom, we have a lot of neurons that are really scrutinizing the detail of the image. And on the top, we have neurons that can see most of the image and a lot of that context, have a lot of that scene context. We then like to process this with feature pyramid networks. In our case, we like to use BiFPNs. And they get to multiple scales to talk to each other effectively and share a lot of information. So for example, if you're a neuron all the way down in the network and you're looking at a small patch and you're not sure if this is a car or not, it definitely helps to know from the top layers that, hey, you are actually in the vanishing point of this highway. And so that helps you disambiguate that this is probably a car.
Psychotropic Thunder says, I actually have extensive experience using both LiDAR and camera tech similar to this. The idea that they would ditch LiDAR for this is insane to me and adds so much computational complexity for an objectively worse result. Right? I don't understand why they want to... What's the word I'm thinking of? Brute force this when they don't have to? Again, Waymo is using a series of LiDARs, which used to be huge, and I mean, they're still relatively big, but, like, they've gotten smaller and smaller and smaller in terms of being sensors on these cars, and instead of simulating what they think the environment looks like in 3 dimensions, it just sends out, you know, a signal, and then it comes back, and it actually measures these things. Like, why would you bring this up to chance other than cost? But really, is it cheaper to do all the R&D on this than it would be to just put the sensors in the car? I don't know. I don't understand the decision.
After a BiFBN and a feature fusion across scales, we then go into task-specific heads. So for example, if you are doing object detection, we have a one-stage YOLO-like object detector here where we initialize a raster, and there's a binary bit per position telling you whether or not there's a car there. And then in addition to that, if there is, here's a bunch of other attributes you might be interested in. So the XY with height offset, or any of the other attributes, like what type of a car is this, and so on. So this is for the detection by itself. Now, very quickly we discovered that we don't just want to detect cars, we want to do a large number of tasks. So, for example, we want to do traffic light recognition and detection, a lane prediction, and so on. So very quickly we converged in this kind of an architectural layout where there's a common shared backbone and then branches off into an
Wagroad says, I can't help but wonder if Tesla's Autopilot is video-based, if one could Wile E. Coyote that shit and trick it with optical illusions of some kind. It's not even hard. It happens accidentally all the time. I think Elon, even in this presentation, mentions at one point, and I don't know why he thinks this is a point in favor of the AI, but he was like, our Autopilot's so good that if you're wearing a t-shirt with a stop sign picture on it, then it's going to detect that as a real stop sign. It's like, Elon, that makes you look bad. You know that, right? But yes, you can trick them. Speedy Yoshi says, what is Elon Musk's favorite movie? Mad at Gas Car. I hate you.
a number of heads. So we call these, therefore, hydranets, and these are the heads of the hydra. Now, this architectural layout has a number of benefits. So number one, because of the feature sharing, we can amortize the forward pass inference in the car at test time. And so this is very efficient to run. Because if we had to have a backbone for every single task, that would be a lot of backbones in the car. Number two, this decouples all of the tasks, so we can individually work on every one task in isolation.
Okay, I need to skip to where Elon talks, because this guy's very dry, and I'm sure the technical information is actually very interesting to people who, you know, are into neural networks, but that's not me. So let's listen to the robot thing, and then listen to Elon try and answer questions.
While working on their CV.
My name is Ganesh, and I lead Project Dojo. It's an honor to present this project on behalf of the multidisciplinary Tesla team that is working on this project. As you saw from Milan, there's an insatiable demand for speed as well as capacity.
I actually don't know what the dojo thing is. Let me watch this real quick, and then we'll get to the robot. Because I know Tesla fanboys were in my thing talking about dojo, and I don't know what it is. Muddy says, probably off topic because I just hopped on, but anyways, I now have a trans friend and would like some tips on how to make them feel better about themselves, as they don't have the ability to medically transition at the moment, aside from calling them by their preferred pronouns and name. I already do that, as that's just being respectful. That's tough. I mean, yeah, I think that's enough. Listen to... I'm sorry, did you say if they were a trans man or a trans woman? You just said trans friend, and then you said them. So I don't know. Whatever. preferred pronouns, a name, good. Just be a normal person. I don't know. I always feel like, how do I put this? I fear taking certain extra steps might come off as a little condescending. He's a he? Right on. Okay. So yeah, that helps a little bit. Yeah, just treat him like your bro. Like, how would you treat a friend of yours who's a dude? Do that. Do exactly that. And that'll do it. And be supportive. Listen to his problems if he has any. Be genuine, but yeah. Speedy Yoshi says, I really should be more shocked at Elon being associated with something named Hydra, but I'm not.
Capacity for neural network training. And Elon prefetched this, and a few years back, he asked us to design a super fast training computer. And that's how we started Project Dojo.
Okay, so it just trains
Our goal is to achieve
AI?
best AI training performance and support all these larger, more complex models that Andre's team is dreaming of, and be power efficient and cost effective at the same time. So we thought about how to build this, and we came up with a distributed compute architecture.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's an AI training program. We got to get to the best part, though. Are you guys ready? If you didn't see this, this is great. What's next for AI beyond our vehicle fleet? This is the big we need to pump the stock move, which didn't actually work. I'm pretty proud of the market today, which is a disgusting sentence. But the stock price did not go up off of this scam. This is today. It actually went down slightly. So good. Let's check out the sci-fi bullshit nonsense that Elon tries to sell people.
And next up, Elon will update us on what's beyond our vehicle fleet for AI.
Elon does this presentation because it's bullshit and not actual technology, which is his specialty. This is the part that frustrates me. This is like the entire reason I wanted to do this on stream. Elon fucking Musk is claiming they're going to build a humanoid robot by next year. For reference. There's a concept in engineering. And I forget the specific wording, but it's something like real engineering or fucking magic. Real engineering is what Boston Dynamics has been working on for 2 decades, okay? They've been working on humanoid robots for 2 decades, and this is what they look like. And they're incredibly impressive feats of engineering and technology. This is what they look like, okay? This is real engineering. This is a real physical thing that exists and has taken a ridiculous amount of time and years and energy and money to make. Now, on top of that, they've also developed... Oh, see, they show some earlier bots in this picture, too. Where you can see some of the earlier ones that were even bulkier. This is real engineering. This is fucking magic. This is not real. This is a CG image. This is frustrating. Again, do you guys remember the original Boston Dynamics videos? Old videos. First, like, they started out... Come on. Do them... There we go. They started out with doing these things on treadmills with like, things attached to them. Why can't I find the original video I'm looking for? That's really frustrating. Hold on. Profane Priestess says actual machines versus fucking magic. Yes, AM versus FM. That's what it's called. Actual image of what the Tesla robot is gonna look like. Actual machines versus fucking magic. Okay. Boston Dynamics first robot. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. Why? This is the same video. Just show me the original video without fucking music and editing. I hate it. Okay, you understand. The point I'm trying to make is they, along with other companies that actually are in the robotics industry, have been working for decades towards humanoid bipedal robots. And the form factor that they have gotten down to are either the dog robots, which aren't bipedal, they're quadrupedal, but they're functional, and they work better for a variety of tasks. And the bipedal bots are quite bulky. Again, I'm not trying to discount it. It's amazing that they've built them at all. But they don't look like this, and they worked on them for decades. And then Elon, the fucking scam artist, comes out and is like, look at this picture we made. We're going to revolutionize the robotics industry and make a completely humanoid bipedal robot by next year. It's such fucking horseshit. I hate it. I hate it so much. Leaked footage of the Tesla robot. What the fuck is wrong with you? So this is a lie, is the point I'm trying to make. This is a lie. This is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. So get excited for the best thing you're gonna see all month, okay? Colston says Elon will just put Grimes on stage to prove that he's created a realistic robot. So obviously this is a guy in a suit. They're not trying to pretend it's not. This is a guy in a suit. I don't know why they thought this was add to the presentation. This feels like an Elon Musk was on drugs decision, and he was like, guys, what if we put a guy in a robot suit and he fucking danced? People love those Boston Dynamics videos where the robots dance. And they were like, Elon, they like those videos because they're impressive, because they're real robots. Not just at the concept of something that looks like a robot dancing, but that they're real robots. And he's like, nah, man, just put a guy in a suit and have him fucking Fortnite dance. The kids will love it. Muddy says, making a human body, millions of years of evolution in robot form is going to take years. Elon can't just shit them out in a year or two. I know. Profane Priestess says, for anyone interested in more anti-Musk stuff, I recommend Tom Nichols' videos on fake futurism. And Steve with a Q says, this is a scuffed version of the Perfect Warrior from the 5 Doctors. Look at how much this is cracking up Elon, too! Like, even if they wanted to do this, and I feel bad for saying this, because if this person is actually a professional dancer that they hired, I apologize. It doesn't seem like they are. If they were going to hire someone to do this, like, I've seen professional dancers who do, like, the robot and stuff and look really, really impressive. Like, they have such bodily control that they can look like they're a robot. Why not hire that person? Why? Moppy Mutton says this is what an internship at Tesla looks like. Let me remind you, Elon Musk is like one of the top 5 richest people on the planet. The world is not a meritocracy, people. The cream does not float to the top, okay? Muddy says he's the weird kid dancing in the corner of a middle school prom party. Speedy Yoshi says, by next year, I'm gonna make my own Five Nights at Freddy animatronic, and here to show you. Alright.
Thank you. Now, unlike Dojo, obviously that was not real.
No, you don't say, Elon.
So Dojo is real. The Tesla bot will be real.
I told someone who was like a Tesla stan on Twitter, I said to them, if Tesla has a working prototype of that robot with that form factor that can actually bipedally walk around by next year, I'll give them $300. And immediately they were like, I don't expect it to happen by next year. And I'm like, well, that's what Elon said. Speedy Yoshi says, so how little do you think that person was paid? They probably were like an intern or something.
Basically, if you think about what we're doing right now with the cars, Tesla is arguably the world's biggest robotics company because our cars are like semi-sentient robots on wheels.
No! No! The audacity of this piece of shit to say that his car company is the largest robotics company in the world when they have never built a single robot. Minecraft. Fortnite in Minecraft. Terraria. Terraria'd in Fortnite'd Minecraft. Profane Priestess says, hasn't Elon been saying his automated cars would be ready very soon for years now? Press X to doubt. Yep.
And with the full self-driving computer, essentially
I'm sorry, I scared Cassia.
The inference engine on the car, which will keep evolving, obviously, and Dojo, and all of the neural nets recognizing the world, understanding how to navigate through the world. It kind of makes sense to put that onto a humanoid form. They're also quite good at sensors and batteries and actuators. So
those are the things that a robot is, sensors and actuators, you know. We'll just slap those all together on a human frame and it'll work. That's all there is to building bipedal robots, right? It's that simple.
We think we'll probably have a prototype sometime next year.
He's going to be saying that until 2027, and then he's never going to mention this thing again.
That basically looks like this. And it's intended to be friendly, of course, and navigate through a world built for humans, and eliminate dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks.
Mike Mack says, what will really happen with robots?
Year 2050. Pentagon's supercomputer M0TH3R attains sentience. Year 2051. billions of D-1000 Dominator androids are deployed across the world to pacify the human population. Year 2052. Humanity is enslaved by its own creations.
Don't worry, baby. You don't need to go to work or leave the house anymore. Just be a good boy and let robot mommy care about your physiological, psychological, and sexual needs while your species slowly goes extinct. I'll be serving chicken tenders for dinner tonight and pecan pie for dessert.
This is fine.
Good boy.
What the fuck? What is wrong with my audience?
We're setting it such that it is...
Okay, so let's take a look at these specs. World built by humans for humans. Friendly. It's good when you put friendly on the features that your robot has page. That doesn't concern me. Eliminates dangerous, repetitive, boring tasks. Hello, higher unemployment. And let me just say, if we could actually invent robots, I think that's good that they take up dangerous and menial tasks. But, you know, under the current system, it's going to be real bad. Height, 5'8". That's a shame for the robot. Carrying capacity, 45 pounds. It can deadlift 150 pounds, but it can only carry 45 pounds. It can walk at 5 miles per hour. Again, all of this is bullshit. They haven't made anything. These are just numbers they made up. Arm extend lift 10 pounds. So if it's doing this, it can only hold up 10 pounds.
At a mechanical level, at a physical level, you can run away from it. And most likely overpower it. So...
Guys, this product that I'm making up, it totally won't kill you, but let me joke about how it's gonna kill you. Jesus Christ.
Hopefully that doesn't ever happen, but you never know. So it's it'll be a light, yeah, anyway, 5 miles an hour. If you can run faster than that, it'll be fine. So,
Muddy says, what kind of dangerous job is it going to be if it can only carry 45 pounds? Right?
Yeah, it's around 5'8". Has sort of a screen where the head is for useful information. But
yeah, he said the thing said it only weighs 125 pounds too, which is also horseshit.
It's otherwise basically got the autopilot system in it, so it's got cameras, got 8 cameras, and yeah.
This is what gets me too. Like, okay, so the autopilot system already has trouble with edge cases, and what I mean by that is like it can lane keep and keep distance between the car and front and back of you relatively well. If you're on the highway, it's fine. You know, a lot of car companies have that kind of driver assist feature. That's the kind of stuff that machines are actually relatively good at. But when we're talking about edge cases, like if you're on city streets, it's a little more complicated. There's more stuff going on. There's more stop and go traffic, people, pedestrians, bikes, different kinds of vehicles, etc. Becomes more difficult. And that's on roads, which are relatively... How do I want to put this? Roads are relatively uniform in their construction, right? Lanes look like lanes, basically, no matter where you are in the United States. They can read that. One-way signs are one-way signs. Stop signs are stop signs. A computer can learn this stuff, theoretically. How is a robot using your shitty autopilot system gonna navigate walking around in the world where there aren't signs and lines everywhere telling it where to go? The autopilot system basically entirely relies on reading lanes and reading road signs. Those don't exist just out in the world for pedestrians. How is this thing going to navigate? It doesn't make any sense. Moppy Mutton says, I'll just pay someone a living wage and they would be biodegradable. Zero M80 says, hi Hannah, just got off work. Bit of bad news, my dad tested positive for COVID. Fortunately, he's fully vaccinated and his symptoms are very mild. Well, thank goodness for the vaccine. Leaked image of Musk's robot. I had a Robo Sapien. Robo Sapien. The Robo Sapien V2. That was my shit. Where's the V2? There it is. I'm surprised there hasn't been, like, and I guess I don't know what kids like these days. I don't ever interact with children. I don't have siblings, so I don't have, like, nieces or nephews or anything like that. So I don't know what kids like these days, but I'm surprised there hasn't been more, like, robot toys. It seems like in the year 2021, you could probably have some cool little robot toys, but guess kids just don't like robots anymore. Now, middle-aged men obsessed with Elon Musk are the only people who like robots. Kirthan becomes a stream boss.
Full self-driving computer, and making use of all of the same tools that we use in the car. So,
again, you're not explaining how you're going to develop the motor functions necessary for this to walk around or handle objects, or if someone bumps into it. Like, are these problems Elon Musk has even considered? Because these are problems that, again, Boston Dynamics have been fiddling with for decades, and they still fall over. Like, Racheology with 50 bits says, would love to see this hypothetical robot navigate some of the cobbled streets in old European cities. Honestly, I'd like to see a prototype of this navigate a flat plane, because I'm kind of doubting it will be able to. Morak says, as a former Tesla Autopilot engineer, I can tell you that our stuff didn't work all that well itself. Morak, what do you think of this robot presentation? Does this make you laugh? Do you feel as though Elon Musk said to his engineers or his marketing department, I need you to mock up a robot so I can tell people we're making a robot? Like a week ago? Because this feels like a very last-minute thing. H. Baird says, dojo training, you're teaching your robots karate? That has to be an 80s movie. Adam C. Rain, thanks for Prime. Morak says yes, wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, things I think that are really hard about having a useful humanoid robot is, can it navigate through the world without being explicitly trained? I mean, without explicit, like, line-by-line instructions. Can you talk to it and say, you know, please pick up that bolt and attach it to the car with that wrench, and see, that's the thing. I think he's underestimating the amount of abstract thinking that goes into that sentence. Pick up, which is an action. I need to walk over there. Lean down. Use my hand to pick up this object, which we have labeled a bolt, which I can identify. I need to get back up. Find the object that I have been told to screw it into. I need to understand what screw into means as an action and how to do that with my motor functions. I need to walk over to that object, pick up whatever tool that he just said to use. I need to understand what a tool is. I need to understand what specific tool is ready for this job. I need to grab the tool, know how to use the tool, and coordinate myself to be able to screw this in with the tool in the correct place. Like, that's a lot. You borderline need, like, some sort of generalized AI in order to do that. And that is, at this point, science fiction. We would have no idea how to build that. Adam C. Rain says, me and my partner just gushed because Hannah read my name. That's nice. M. Templar said, thank you for subscribing for 3 months. Speedy Yoshi says, if you want to see a real robot. I don't like that. I feel like that creature was created by a Trump supporter. Topical Friday Night at Freddy's joke for you guys. Muddy says, those poor engineers, whenever their boss walks anywhere near, they have to stop themselves from laughing or else they might get fired. It should be able to do that. It should be able to, please go to the store and get me the following groceries. That kind of thing. So Yeah, I think we can do that. And
again, look at the image they mocked up for this. It's not moving rigidly. Apparently Elon told them to make this just look like a human in a spandex suit. Because it's not moving like a robot, it's moving like a person standing there and kind of idling. You know, people move around when they're standing. Even when they're standing still, they kind of move around. Why would a robot behave like this? Why would a robot do this? Neurotic Net says, this is my favorite Boston Dynamics spot.
Time to make the fucking donuts.
Again, guys, this is what a real bipedal robot looks like in this day and age. Speedy Yoshi says, last link, then I'll shut up, which we'll look at later. Jamie Lynn says, I'm here. I hope you haven't been on long. Let's go, Hannah. I'm kind of down today, but your stream always cheers me up. Chrysia says, it walks 5 miles an hour. How is it supposed to get you groceries? Very slowly. I assume Elon Musk is under the impression that everyone lives, you know, down the street from a bodega or something that they can grab stuff at. Even though a lot of Americans, in particular, live in areas very distant from stores and they have to commute. I guess in his mind, probably, he thinks, the robot will get in my auto-driving Tesla, my Tesla will drive my Tesla robot to the store, it will pick things up and then bring them back in my Tesla. Profane Priestess says, so Elon really took the wrong message from iRobot, huh? Guess so. Waiting for Elon to reveal his secret to making human-like robots is to have the bot be struck by lightning. Johnny 5 is alive! Kirthan says there's exactly a 0% chance of this robot not getting stolen if it went out to get groceries.
Mr. 5, tell us how you feel. How do I feel?
I feel alive! Freeze frame ending. Oh. It's too bad about the brown face in these movies, right? That's a shame.
E aí, galera. Galera, já vai deixando aquele like, se inscrevendo.
I don't like that. No.
Gosh, you got a boot or something. Okay. Alright. The are you laughing at, hippie? I am the universe! Alright, where do you want this? Mother... Ow! What the f***, Kevin? God damn it. Oh. Alright, stop f***ing around. Alright, just tell me where you want this thing. We can move on. Oh! Alright, okay. Alright, Gretzky over here. Ah! Fuck!
Oops.
God damn it, that... See you later, Kevin. See you tomorrow, face. Hope a robot doesn't burn your fucking house down.
Funny. I liked Boston Dynamics. I think they're great. They do actual work. I don't mean to, and I'm not trying to demean. I'm sure the people who work at Tesla work really, really hard. The management at Tesla is just fucking garbage and gives into whatever whims the man baby Elon Musk has that week. Muddy says, my Tesla robot left for milk 15 years ago. I'm not kidding. That fucker literally walks slower than a snail. Magic Lad says, that person in your threads said to say it to the engineers, and, like, I'm sure the ones working for him would agree. They haven't been working on robots for 2 decades, and I'm sure they're frustrated at him making so many promises they aren't able to. I know, right? Moppy Buttons with the link. Oh, yeah, it's Newsmax, though. Fucking Newsmax. Yeah, hitchhiking robot destroyed beyond repair in Philadelphia. It was a robot that went all over the place, I think in Canada, and the idea was like, you find the robot, it has a note on it that's like, I'm going places. You know, take me around for a while and then leave me. And it went all over Canada, and it was fine. And then, like, the first week in America, it got fucking destroyed. Robot. It's not a real robot, obviously. It's just like a thing, but... Boston Dynamics bloopers. Yeah, this is interesting. This is bloopers from their most recent video, actually, we watched the other day. Morak says, Elon doesn't understand the work that goes into things. In my time working for him, he had us constantly jumping between projects and ideas as to how to actually make the autopilot work somewhere besides highways. It was a mess. We were always getting reports of missed X things, so we'd have to shift priorities, and then the next week it'd be a different priority, then cycle back around again. Sounds like it. In your because you recently worked for Tesla. At any point had you heard about this robot thing? Were there any rumblings from any department that, like, they were gonna build a fucking robot? Or is this complete news to you? And again, like, the Boston Dynamics robots are really, really, really impressive. But they're still new technology, right? So they break a lot. Like, it looks like in that particular instance, a hydraulic line or something ruptured. Jamie Lynn, thanks for gifting a sub.
Yeah. This, I think, will be quite profound, because if you say, like, what is the economy? It is, at the foundation, it is labor. So
why don't you let your employees unionize, Elon? Speedy Yoshi says, my favorite robots are Atlas and Peabody from Portal 2, gay dancing robots.
what happens when there is, no...
Morak says, nope, we were locked up in Autopilot. Tesla works very hard to prevent unions, so we weren't even allowed to eat with the same people more than 4 days in a row. Oh, that sounds like a healthy work culture. Jesus.
Shortage of labor.
I'm surprised more of their cars don't set on fire, if I'm being honest with you, with how they treat their employees. I'm surprised the employees don't start intentionally sabotaging shit. That would explain the quality some of those cars have coming out of the factory. Could also be the tents.
This is why I think long-term that there will need to be universal basic income. Yeah.
Why don't you just pay your taxes now, Elon? That'd be great. Good. I'm glad you're advocating for universal basic income. Just, I don't believe you.
But not right now, because this robot doesn't work. So we just need a minute.
But not right now.
So, yeah, but I think essentially in the future, physical work will be a choice. If you want to do it, you can, but you won't need to do it. And yeah, I think it obviously has profound implications for the economy, because given that the economy at its foundational level is labor, I mean, capital equipment is just distilled labor, then is there any actual limit to the economy? Maybe not.
Why is he opining about the economy? Elon is not an economist.
So, yeah. Join our team and help build this.
This is what bewilders me. That tech sites are reporting on this robot as if it's an actual thing. This isn't him selling a robot. This is him selling the idea to recent college graduates who have degrees in engineering and want to get into robotics, or have degrees in robotics or whatever, saying, come work for Tesla. Look at this cool robot we'll let you build. This is not serious. This is trying to find new talent that they can underpay because they're fresh out of college.
All right, so I think we'll
and a stock pump. Yeah. Which didn't work. I'm actually pretty happy about that. Maybe they've learned their lesson after Cybertruck and robo-taxis and all that haven't panned out.
Have everyone come back on the stage and you guys can ask questions if you'd like.
I heard the Q&A is a wreck, so I'm pretty excited for the Q&A. This is literally a mannequin. Look, guys, we built a mannequin! Woo! Sorry, that's quite loud. The camera's just gonna focus on this mannequin for a sec for some reason.
Here we go.
Okay.
Just like maybe try to get the camera angle from there, not from the side.
Is Elon literally directing the camera crew for the event, too? Wow. Elon, engineer, roboticist, futurist, crypto genius, memester, and director. Rachelology says this is what a lot of human-robot interaction in the future is going to look like.
Now, clicking towards oblivion. How long can I?
Insufficient data.
Yeah, you never fucking know the answer.
I'd not seen that blooper. That's funny.
All right, cool. So we can probably turn the lights back on. Yeah, great. So we're happy to answer any questions you have about anything on the software.
I want to know what the order for whatever. I assume Tesla probably has, because they're a car company and they need to quickly prototype parts and stuff. So they probably have a department that just does fabrication stuff for them. I really want to see what the fabrication order for that fucking mannequin was. Hey guys, we need you to build a mannequin that looks like a sci-fi robot. What? We're a car company. Deleted footage from the Q&A.
And the power cell recharges as it moves. It's a revolution in robotic longevity. Yes?
Can you it?
Excuse me?
Can you it?
No.
Moppy Button says Elon got high and watched Mannequin, then did this. He got high and watched Mannequin 2 and did this. He's never seen the first Mannequin. He's only seen Mannequin 2 on the move. Why is the existence of the movie Mannequin 2 funny to me?
Hardware side, where things are going, and yeah, fire away. We have, because the lights are like interrogation lights.
Yes, there was a Mannequin 2.
So we actually cannot see. Ah, there we go. Great.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool.
You're 20, what's Mannequin? I'm 27! Learn our culture! No, Mannequin was like a cheesy 80s movie where a guy who like dresses store mannequins in a mall, and it's the 80s because it's an 80s movie, so malls aren't depressing yet. He's dressing a mannequin and he's like, I am so lonely, I wish I could fall in love. And then the mannequin comes to life, and it's like a romantic comedy about the mannequin coming to life and them falling in love. I've not seen Mannequin 2.
I can just, okay, there we go. First off, I mean, thanks to all the presenters. That was just super cool to see everything. I'm just curious at a high level, and this is kind of a question for really anyone who wants to take it. To what extent are you interested in publishing or open sourcing anything that you do for the future?
Well, I mean, it is fundamentally extremely expensive to create the system, so...
So no, fuck you, it's ours.
Somehow that has to be paid for. I'm not sure how to pay for it if it's fully open sourced.
You're the richest man on the... You were the richest man on the planet. I'm actually not sure who's richest now. Richest people in the world right now. Elon Musk is the second richest person in the world right now. His net worth is $178 billion. And yes, I know a lot of the majority of that worth is tied up in the valuation of Tesla. I'm aware.
Yeah, unless people want to work for free.
Isn't that what the robots are for, Elon?
But I should say that this is, if other car companies want to license it and use it in their cars, that would be cool. This is not intended to be just limited to Tesla cars.
Is for the Dojo supercomputer. So did you solve the compiler problem of scaling to...
Colston says here you can tell that Elon is a fake nerd. Non-open source is a big sin in the programming community.
These many nodes, or is...
Elon is a capitalist first.
Or if it is solved, is it only applicable to Dojo? Because I'm doing research in deep learning accelerators, and getting the correct scalability or the distribution, even in one chip, is extremely difficult from the research project's perspective. So I was just curious.
Excuse me, mic for Bill. You want
Give them... This happened at the last event, too. Give them all microphones. It's always so awkward when they're, like, deciding who's going to answer what question. They're passing the mics around. Tesla's the highest valued automaker on the planet. You can afford 5 microphones for this event.
Have we solved the problem? Not yet. Are we confident we will solve the problem? Yeah.
Oh my god. The guy next to him, he looks like he's having a panic attack. Look at how it's just like... Remember that Ripley's Believe It or Not, where the guy could pop his eyeballs out? Muddy says, Elon's face, he was so scared of that question. I've noticed at these events, the employees answering the questions always seem terrified because Elon's right there. It seems like they know they're going to get yelled at or fired if they give an answer that he doesn't like.
Yes. We have demonstrated networks on prototype hardware now. We have models, performance models showing the scaling. The difficulty is, as you said, how do we keep the localities? If we can do enough model parallel, enough data parallel to keep most of the things local, we just keep scaling. We have to fit the parameters in our working set in our SRAM that we have, and we flow through the pipe. There's plenty of opportunities. Sorry, as we get further scale for further processor nodes, have more local memory trade-offs with bandwidth, we can do more things. But as we see it now, the applications that Tesla has, we see a clear path.
God, the guy next to him looks so nervous.
And our modularity story means we can have different ratios, different aspects created out of it. I mean, this is something that we chose for our application.
Muddy says, oh no, he sounds like he's going to cry. We must free this man.
Internally.
Sure.
I was just saying that the locality portion of it, given that training is such a soft scaling application, even though you have all this compute and have a high bandwidth interconnect, it could not give you that performance because you're doing computations on limited memory at different locations.
Oh wow, people are actually questioning them on this. That almost never happens at these events. It's normally just fanboys who are like, oh my god, Elon, this is amazing.
So I was that's very curious to me when you said it's solved, because I just jumped onto the opportunity and would love to know more, given that how much you can open source.
Right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the proof's in the pudding. So we should have Dojo operational next year, and I think we'll obviously use it for training, video training. I mean, fundamentally, this is about like.
That's a terrible answer to the question. He just completely sidestepped the question and just said like, well, we'll have it next year and we'll prove it to you. Your track record says otherwise, but okay. Morok says, given how many of my managers were fired during my 1 year of working for Tesla, 3 managers and 1 HR official, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are terrified. I'd imagine so.
The primary application initially is we've got vast amounts of video, and how do we train vast amounts of video as efficiently as possible, and also shorten the amount of time. Like if you're trying to train to a task, like just in general, innovation is how many iterations and what is the average progress between each iteration. And so if you can reduce the time between iterations, the rate of improvement is much better. So if it takes like sometimes a couple days for a model to train versus a couple hours, that's a big deal.
Yeah? He basically just said the quicker we can train the AI, the better. Yes? Was that in question?
But the acid test here and
Miyako Storm actually brings a good point. Not really. If each of those iterations develops bigger issues, yeah, you do have to check them, don't you? And make sure that it's not developing bad habits, for lack of a better term. I don't know what the actual term would be. Again, I don't do anything in regard to the actual tech stuff with this.
What I've told the Dojo team is like it's successful if the software team wants to turn off the GPU cluster, but if they want to keep the GPU cluster on, it's not successful. So.
Hi, right over here. Love the presentation. Thank you for getting us out here. Love everything, especially the simulation part of the presentation. I was wondering, it looked very, very, very realistic. Are there any plans to maybe expand simulation to other parts of the company in any way?
Hi, I'm Ian Glow. I manage
Moppy Mutton says, poo-poo caca, no substance.
the Autopilot simulation team. So as we go down the path to full self-driving, we're going to have to simulate more and more of the vehicle. Currently, we're simulating vehicle dynamics, but we're going to need BMS, we're going to need the MCU, we're going to need every single part of the vehicle integrated. And that actually makes the Autopilot simulator really useful for places outside of Autopilot. So I want to expand, or we want to expand eventually to being a universal simulation.
That guy seems confident. I wonder if he's new and hasn't been yelled at by Elon yet. Morok says, the term for neural nets developing bad habits is regressions. We had a lot of issues with developing regressions when we were rushed on a training period, but they kept rushing us anyway. I'm so glad I have a former Tesla employee in my audience that can, like, give the deets. I appreciate it. By the way, when I make fun of Tesla, I hope you don't, like, feel like I'm making fun of the stuff you ever worked on. I understand that you were working under really shitty conditions, and I'm sure you did a great job with the tools and time you were given. I'm not trying to denigrate you or any of the other employees at Tesla's work. The problem at Tesla is the management and the expectations set by the management. I have nothing but respect for you and your fellow, like, people who worked on this stuff. Just for reference, let's take a look at some Tesla Autopilot fails and see how they're doing. That's a little quiet. Oh, yeah, that almost drove off a cliff. Ray Geology says, first time watching Musk for any greater length of time, and I have to say, I've been in the presence of people who have been dead for hundreds of years who would still have more innate charisma than him. Yeah, he has a sort of like anti-charisma that I think some people find appealing because they themselves aren't all that charismatic. So to them, it feels like he's being a very real person, even though he's not. He's still lying. He's just lying while being uncharismatic. It's kind of interesting. Bitter Old Ass Broad says, "Hi, Hannah. So I think I read somewhere that Zuckerberg is on the spectrum. Is Musk too? He seems like he's struggling with expressing himself." I think at the last presentation they did, he said something about potentially being on the spectrum. I'm not sure, though. I honestly have no idea.
Jeez, Alex.
Sworn one thing or another.
Was that you
I've
or
lost
the
count of all
car?
the oaths I've taken and the things I've been sworn
Oh, I missed one. Sorry.
bad, and yes, even the uncomfortable truths.
Jeez,
Practically everybody in
Alex.
the system has sworn one thing or another.
Was that you
I've
or
lost
the
count
car?
of all the oaths I've taken and the things I've been sworn.
Her reaction makes me think that wasn't the first time something like that had happened. And she's probably been like, "Alex, please don't use the autopilot while I'm in the car. It's scary." And he's like, "No, it's fine. Elon Musk does a great job." Just completely driving in the wrong lane. Still going, still in the wrong lane. The driver apparently isn't paying any attention. There we go. Back to the right one. Ooh, there's a bad one. That's a really bad one. Ooh, did they... Yeah, I think they hit the car to the side. Oh yeah, I imagine the sun directly in front of them isn't helping the cameras too much. I heard a kitty! Where are you, kitty?
I thought it happened all like once a year.
Oh, almost
Okay,
completely drove directly into that rail.
Wow, hold on.
Titty bar? Titty bar, sure. In the lake area, and you still see the struggle.
Man, it sure does seem to like to want to drive directly into the guardrails, doesn't it? Screaming at the radio says, "Well, Musk is a shitty boss. I know enough people who've worked for him. Ducked an offer from SpaceX myself because of that. Still, the cars are great. I drive on autopilot about 90% of the time. You still have to pay attention and be ready to take over. I'm glad you pay attention. A lot of people don't."
Could do with an new and an updated business plan. I think that a higher caliber.
Ooh, yeah. See, a lot of it's the guardrails. It doesn't seem to know how to handle guardrails very well. Oop. Didn't know how to split that lane, or how to, rather, fork. Jesus Christ. Don't worry, guys, though. Full self-driving, coming soon.
Platform. But I think before that, we're going to be spinning up a lot of Optimus support. And then a little bit further down the line, we have some rough ideas on potentially how to get the simulation infrastructure and some of the cool things we've built into the hands of people outside of the company.
Optimus is the code name for the Tesla bot.
Oops.
Optimus subprime.
That's a stupid name for it. It's not a transforming robot. Why did you name it after the main transformer?
Yeah. Hi, this is Ali Jahanian. Thank you for the great presentation and putting all of these cool things together. Yeah, for a while I have been thinking that the car is already a robot. So
the car is not a robot. It's a car with driver assist features.
Why not a humanoid robot? And I'm so happy that today you mentioned that you are going to build such a thing. especially I think that this can give opportunity for ways of putting multi-modality together. For instance, we know that in the example that you showed that there was a dog and with some passengers or running together.
Morok Ben Eoth says, we worked a lot on highway forks, but the system never seemed to catch on to what we were trying to teach it. That was one of the major areas of regressions, time and time again. Oof. Lily loves to... Can I just ask you straight up? And if you have, like, an NDA or anything, like, I get it. Like, would you recommend people use Autopilot? Like, I'm not even saying I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy a Tesla. That's just my personal preference. But, like, if someone bought a Tesla and you knew them, would you warn them anything about Autopilot? Or do you think it's safe enough? I'm not fishing for any particular answer, by the way. If you think it's safe, that's great, and I'm happy, and you would know, so that's awesome, but just curious. Lily Love Stuff says, what Grimes said she wasn't with Elon for his money, that's why I had to stop listening to her music.
The language and symbolic processing can really help for visualizing that. So I was wondering, if I could hear a little more about this type of putting modalities together, including language and vision, because I have been working with, for instance, mini GPT that Andre put out there, and yeah, I didn't hear much about other modalities that's going into the car, or at least in the simulation. Is there any comment that you could tell us?
Well, driving is fundamentally based.
Morak says, I have an NDA. I've been stretching it for a bit, and no, I don't trust Autopilot. I know the reports we got. It works well enough 95% of the time, but that 5% was really critical failures, like running into highway forks at 80 miles per hour. Oh, that's concerning. That reminds me a lot of, you guys know in Fight Club what the main character, his job was like assessing recalls for major auto companies, and he would basically determine, is it cheaper to let a bunch of people die and deal with the lawsuits from our cars malfunctioning, or is it cheaper to do the recall? And then companies would do that. Just makes me think of that. Getting reports regularly like, well, here's how many people our system we designed have killed this year. And to be clear, I'm not blaming you. It's on that person. They need to be paying attention at all times. But I do sort of blame the marketing and Elon Musk for calling it Autopilot, which implies a certain level of hands-off that it should not allow. And I know it does the dingy thing if you keep your hands off for too long, but come on. Rageology says, the whole push for automated cars is going to end up concluding that what we actually need is good public transport, isn't it? Honestly, I would hope so. It'd be nice if once Elon Musk... I mean, Elon's going to get away with everything, so what am I talking about? But wouldn't it be nice if he actually got called out for fraud and got sued and lost or went to jail for fraud? And then everyone was like, hey, let's do high-speed trains and other proven forms of transportation, mass transit for people. That'd be nice.
Basically, almost entirely vision neural nets. Basically, it's running on a biological vision neural net. And what we're doing here is a silicon camera neural net. So there is some amount of audio. You want to hear if...
He's in a big lawsuit right now that he'll probably lose. Which one? Which one's he in right now? Is it still the Solar Roof one? Or did they already settle that? The Solar City one? I don't remember.
There's like emergency vehicles or, I guess converse with the people in the car. If somebody's yelling something at the car, the car needs to understand what...
H. Baird says, airplane autopilots are actually fairly complicated, and some of the more complex ones are harder to use than just hand-flying the airplane. They're more about relieving certain tasks than completely flying the airplane. Cool.
That is. all the things that are necessary for it to be fully autonomous. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for all the great work that you've shown. My question is for the team, because the data that was shown seems to be predominantly from the United States that the FSD computer is being trained on. But as it gets rolled out to different countries, which have their own road systems and challenges that come with it, how do you think that it's going to scale? Like I'm assuming like ground up is not a very viable solution. So how does that transfer to different countries?
Well, we actually do train on using data from probably like 50 different countries, but we have to pick, as we're trying to advance full self-driving, we need to pick one country, and since we're located here, we pick the US. And then we get a lot of questions like, why not even Canada? I'm like, well, because the roads are a little different in Canada, different enough. And so when trying to solve a hard problem, you want to say like, okay, let's not add additional complexity right now. Let's just solve it for the US, and then we'll extrapolate to the rest of the world. But we do.
I would imagine the regulations in the US are also probably a lot more lax because the US is laissez-faire to the bone.
We do use video from all around the world.
Profane Priestess says it's so frustrating that tech like high-speed rail and maglevs already exist and could be perfect advanced with proper planning and investing. If Elon really wanted to build a sustainable future, he'd invest in that, but he won't because actual public goods aren't profitable. It pisses me off. Yep.
Yeah. I think a lot of what we are building.
He doesn't care about actually helping build a sustainable future. He cares about being seen as a man who is building a sustainable future, air quotes.
It's very country agnostic, fundamentally.
He wants to be Iron Man. He wants to be Tony Stark. He's not. He's just another billionaire asshole.
All the computer vision components and so on don't care too much about country-specific sort of features. Different countries have roads, and they have curbs, and they have cars, and everything we're building is fairly general for that.
Yeah, and there's the prime directive is don't crash.
Right, and that's true for every country.
Yes.
He's following the prime directive about as well as Captain Kirk did then.
This is the prime directive.
See, I also watch the Star Trek, fellow kids. Buy my stuff. I know memes and science fiction movies and TV shows.
Even right now, the car is pretty good at not crashing.
That's what I want in a car. It's pretty good at not crashing.
And so just basically, whatever it is, don't hit it. Even if it's a UFO that crash landed on the highway, and still don't hit it.
Maybe tackle guardrails first before you start training on potential UFO crashes. Just priorities, Elon. Morak says, that was an excellent question. We did train on foreign data sets, mostly China, but when you go to somewhere like England, pretty much nothing scales, so all this work we have to do for the US to work has to be done again for countries like England. That sounds like a nightmare. Psychotropic Thunder says, the question about other countries is... The question of... Yeah. Just starts very, very similarly. The question about other countries is actually super important. If you train on AI on only one type of data, you can cause something called overfitting, where the AI becomes hyper-focused on specific details, and if those aren't present, it can fail catastrophically. So, Morak, and I guess Psychotropic Thunder, you sound like you know what you're talking about on this too. How has machine learning and stuff progressed over the last, 5-10 years? Because it seems like a lot of these problems are basically dependent on better machine learning, right? Which I guess is what he's claiming they're going to try and do with Dojo. But, is there exponential progression in our ability to train these systems efficiently? Or are we still a long way off from being able to do this in a reasonable time frame? Just curious.
You should not need to recognize it in order to not hit it. So that's very important.
And I want to ask that when you do the photometric process, multi-view geometry, how much of an error do you see? Is it like 1 millimeter, 1 centimeter? So I'm just, if it's not confidential.
Yeah, I know about the Ghost Ezra Florida Man reveal thing. We'll probably check that out maybe Tuesday, or if we do a conspiracy theory day. This is not right. Today's Friday. Whenever we do another conspiracy theory day, I'm sure we'll tackle that.
Sorry, is the question, what is the resolution?
What's the difference between the synthetic? Sure. What is the difference between the synthetically created geometry to the actual geometry?
Yeah, it's usually within a couple centimeters, 3 or 4 centimeters. That's the standard deviation.
Colston says, as a computer science grad, machine learning gets better incrementally, but we're still a long way from even the most modest Elon claim. Okay.
With different kind of
Does Peter know? Peter doesn't trust Ghost Ezra, so I can't imagine it makes a difference to him. He already doesn't like Ghost Ezra. Morak says, let's see. Criminal justice with a focus on counterterrorism. I'm a former FBI who got the boot because I failed a polygraph reinvestigation. I applied my knowledge of geospatial analysis to making civilian mapping software for Apple, and from there I learned a bit on neural nets and transferred those skills to Tesla.
modalities to bring down
Ghost Ezra is a neo-Nazi, yes.
That error.
We primarily tried to find scale.
Psychotropic Thunder says it's progressed a lot, but one of the issues is that companies are focused on neural nets because it's a huge buzzword, even though there are more problem models that can be better at specific types of data analysis. Stuff like this is being driven by stock value, not the actual effectiveness of the tech itself. Why is capitalism always the bad guy?
Scalable ways to label. In some occasions, we use other sensors to help benchmark, but we primarily try to use cameras for this system.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to aim for the card to be positioned accurately to the sort of centimeter level, you know, something on that order.
Obviously, it will depend on distance. Like close by things can be much more accurate than farther away things, and they would matter less because the card doesn't have to make decisions much farther away. And as it comes close, it will become more and more accurate.
Exactly. A lot of questions.
Thanks, everybody. My question has to do with sort of AI and manufacturing. It's been a while since we've heard about the alien dreadnought concept. Is the humanoid that's behind you guys, is that kind of brought out of the production hell timeline and saying that humans are underrated in that process?
Well, sometimes like something that I say is taken to too much of an extreme.
I believe he's talking about back in the day, Elon was very focused on automating just about everything he could in the Tesla factories, and that was going very poorly. So he ended up kind of backing off from that and was saying something along the lines of, I really underrated the efficiency and necessity of human workers on the ground at the manufacturing floors. And I assume the guy is asking basically, did the development, I would say probably future development, I don't think they've probably actually worked on the robot at all at this point. I think the guy's asking basically, did you start building a robot because you still want to do automation, but the human form factor is really efficient?
There are parts of the Tesla system that are almost completely automated, and then there are some parts that are almost completely manual. If you were to walk through the whole production system, you would see a very wide range from, like I said, fully automatic to almost completely manual. But the vast majority, most of it is already automated. And then with some of the design architecture changes, like going to large aluminum high-pressure die-cast components, we can take the entire rear third of the car and cast it as a single piece. And now we're going to do...
Morak says, have to get going now, Hannah. I'm moving at the end of the week. Need to look at some rooms. Enjoy the shit show chat. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your input. It's always really great when you're here for Tesla-related stuff, considering your history with the company. So thank you. Hope the move goes well, by the way.
The front third of the car is a single piece.
Yeah, the Cybertruck, I think they're making, the outer paneling is made out of, like, sheet aluminum.
So the body line drops by like 60 to 70% in size. But yeah, the robot is not prompted by specifically by manufacturing needs. It's just that we're just obviously making the pieces that are needed for a useful humanoid robot. So I guess we probably should make it. And if we don't, someone else will. And so I guess we should make it.
His answer is just, I wanted to make a robot. That's almost adorable if I didn't hate him.
Good.
Someone's gonna make a robot, it might as well be me.
And make sure it's safe. I should say, like, also manufacturing.
Oh, the employees look so uncomfortable with his answers.
Volume manufacturing is extremely difficult and underrated, and we've gotten pretty good at that. So it's also important for that humanoid
I hate everyone. That's not true, just most people.
robot. Like, how do you make the humanoid robot not be super expensive? And
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. And my question will be about scaling of Dojo. And in particular, how do you scale the compute nodes in terms of thermals and power delivery? Because there is only so much heat that you can dispense and only so much power that you can bring to like cluster rack.
Baha, I love you the most.
And how do you plan to scale it? And how do you plan to scale it in multiple data centers?
I think this guy is talking about the cooling required for the Dojo system, which is their planned machine learning program. System. I assume there's hardware involved in it too.
You want to take it? Oh, there.
Yeah, hi. I'm Bill. One of the Dojo engineers. So from a thermal standpoint and power standpoint, we've designed it very modular. So what you saw on the compute tile, that will cool the entire tile. So once we hook it up to, it is liquid cooled on both the top and the bottom side. It doesn't need anything else. And so when we talk about clicking these together, once we click it to power, and once we click.
It belongs in your ear.
You pushed it too far into my ear.
Get to
love you too.
Cooling, it will be fully powered and fully cooled, and all of that is less than a cubic foot.
yeah, so Tesla has a lot of expertise in power electronics and in cooling. So we took the power electronics expertise from the vehicle powertrain and the sort of the advanced cooling that we developed for the power electronics and for the vehicle, and applied that to the supercomputer. Because as you point out, getting heat out is extremely important. It's just really heat limited. So, yeah, so it's funny that at the compute level, it's operating at less than a volt, which is a very low voltage. There's a lot of amps, so therefore a lot of heat.
Hydrate.
I squared R is really bites you on the ass.
What's that weird pause? I don't even know what Elon added to that answer. I don't think he needed to. I just think he felt he hadn't talked in too long of a period of time.
Hi. My question's also similarly a question of scaling. So it seems like a natural consequence of using, significantly faster training hardware is that you'd be either training models over a lot more data, or you'd be training a lot more complex models. Which
What is a robot? I want someone that would be the funniest question, just standing up and be like, hi, what is a robot? Try and have Elon explain what a robot is to someone who doesn't know what a robot is for some reason.
would be potentially significantly more expensive to run at inference time on the cars. I guess I was wondering, if there was a plan to also apply Dojo as something that you'd be using like on the self-driving cars? And if so, like, you know, do you foresee additional challenges there?
So as you could see, like Andre's models are not just for cars. Like there are auto labeling models, there are other models that are like beyond car application, but they feed into the car stack. So
I think Elon definitely directed them to try and emphasize that this is more than just cars, because I feel like the stock has probably at this point, unless they release the Cybertruck and it does well, or the Semi, or the Roadster, or somehow actually do robo-taxis, the stock price is probably already overvalued for what it is. So now he's like, we really got to convince people we're more than a car company, because I need to expand this to be bigger than Amazon.
So Dojo will be used for all of those too, not just the car inference part of the training.
Yeah, I mean, the Dojo's first application will be consuming video data for training that would then be run in the inference engine on the car. But and that I think is an important test to see if it actually is good or.
Can I just take a second, by the way? And show you, you know, one of the greatest clips in history. Oh, the electric ATV, that's not a real Tesla thing. They just bought a commercial electric ATV and slapped panels on it to make it look like the Cybertruck. That came out after that event, if you didn't know. 74Quinn74 says, one day I'm going to tell my grandchildren to never trust car autopilot, and they're going to laugh at me and go, okay, boomer, but actually Gen Z. They'll probably just say, okay, zoomer. I hate the Cybertruck so much. It's the ugliest thing ever.
Welcome to the Cybertruck unveil. Nice. Now hit the Cybertruck.
This is great, by the way. When he hits the side of this competing truck car, notice this.
Nice.
Hold on, it's hard to see. You really gotta slow it down. Here it comes. He's gonna hit it. Boom. He hits this door with the side of the hammer, okay? He hits this door with the side of the hammer because this sledgehammer is a special tool. You'll notice that there's a slight color difference between the ends and the middle. The middle is, metal or something. The ends are actually rubber, sort of like a rubber mallet. Okay, that's important. So he hits the competitor's door with the center. Now when he goes over to do the Cybertruck, notice how he hits it with the rubber part. Just saying. Robert Morley with 5,000 bits, ooh, thank you, says, hi, Hannah. Not for nothing, but I wouldn't bet against Elon Musk. He and Tesla are here to stay. Oh, maybe. I still think they're scammy pieces of shit. So that's a scam.
Let's show the glass demo. So first,
this is one of the greatest things to happen in human history.
So first, this is regular glass. This is like normal glass, car glass. I want to show you what happens with normal car glass. Now I'll show you Tesla Armor glass. Yeah. Yeah, it's still doing it. Franz, could you try to break this glass, please?
I assume it has to do with the fact, and I don't know this, I don't know anything about, like, materials, but I assume they tested this when it's like in a solid panel and it's being evenly having pressure applied to it on all sides like that, whereas in a vehicle it's not going to be perfectly kind of laid down in that same way. So these magic bulletproof windows become very shatterable. Robert Morley said, made tons of bucks on Tesla stock and call options. I'm sure you did. Elon's very good at one thing, and it's pumping the stock well beyond anything the fundamentals should allow it to go to. This is amazing. I'm gonna slow motion this just because it's too good.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Moments before catastrophe. That's a shame.
Oh my God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
They claimed these windows were bulletproof a little bit before this demo. Take two!
It didn't go through. That's a plus side. Let's try the right. Really? Okay. Sure. Oh, man. It didn't go through.
That wasn't your claim, Elon. Fun.
But is it actually better than GPU cluster or not?
0M80 says, so can we throw a metal ball at the robot?
But then beyond that, it's basically a generalized neural net training computer. But it's very much optimized.
The Cybertruck has not been released, no. He claims next year, I think, at this point.
To be a neural net. So, CPUs and GPUs, they're not made to be. They're not designed specifically for training neural nets. We've been able to make GPUs especially very efficient for training neural nets, but that was never their design intent. So it's basically GPUs are still essentially running at neural net training in emulation mode. So with Dojo, we're saying like, okay, let's just ASIC the whole thing. Let's just have the
call for butt stuff says, fusk the Musk, have some biddies, thanks.
Thing it's built for one purpose, and that is neural net training. And just generally, any system that is designed for a specific purpose will be better than one that is designed for a general purpose.
Hey, I have a question here. Hi. So you described two separate systems. One was for vision, the other was for planner and control. Does Dojo allow you to train networks that cross that boundary? And second thing is, if you were able to train such networks, would you have the onboard compute capability in the FSD system to be able to run that under your tight latency constraints? Thanks.
Oh, Elon looks like he doesn't. Again, I don't mean to I get it. I don't expect Elon, if he were a normal person who was just a boss, to know the answer to this question at all. Of course not. I certainly don't know the answer. He's a businessman. It's his job to know the business side of things. But it frustrates me that he tries to have his public image be of this genius, Tony Stark type guy who invents things, and he just doesn't.
Be able to train planner networks on Dojo or any GPUs. It's really invariant to the platform. And I think, if anything, once we make this entire thing end-to-end, it will be more efficient than decoding a lot of these intermediate states. So you should be able to run faster if you make the entire thing end-to-end.
Like, if you asked Elon to code a website that looks like it's from the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, I'm sure he could do it. That's how he made a lot of his money initially, was building a website that ended up getting bought up by PayPal in its early days. So I get that, but like that's what he does. He does that, and he does business. Those are the things he does. He's not an engineer. He doesn't know how to build things.
When your neural networks, we can avoid a lot of decoding of these intermediate states and only decode the essential things required for driving the car.
Actually, let me rephrase that. He is an engineer by title because he gave himself the title of lead engineer at Tesla, even though he doesn't have an engineering degree.
Yep. Certainly, end-to-endness is the guiding principle behind a lot of the network developments. And over time in the stack, neural networks have taken on more and more functionality. And so we want everything to be trained end-to-end because we see that that works best. But we are building it incrementally. So right now, the interface, there is vector space, and we are consuming it in the planner. But nothing really fundamentally prevents you from actually taking features and eventually fine-tuning end-to-end. So I think that's definitely where this is headed. And the discovery really is like, what are the right architectures that we need to place in the network blocks to make it amenable to that task? So like Andre described, we can place spatial RNNs to help with the perception problem. And now it's just neural network. So similarly for planning, we need to bake in search and optimization into the network architecture. And once we do that, you should be able to do planning very quickly, similar to C++ algorithms.
Oh, you don't, okay. I think I had a question very similar to what he was asking about. It seems like a lot of neural nets are around computer vision. And kind of traditional planning, you had model predictive control and solving convex optimization problems very quickly. And I'd wonder if there's a compute architecture that's more suited for convex optimization or the model predictive control solutions very quickly.
Yeah, 100%. We want to bake in, like I said earlier, we want to bake in these architectures that do, say, model predictive control, but it just like replace some of the blocks with neural networks. Or if we know the physics of it, we can also use physics-based models, part of the neural networks, forward pass itself. So we are going to go towards a hybrid system where we will have neural network blocks placed together with physics-based blocks and more neural networks later. So it will be a hybrid stack, and what we know to do well, we place with express.
I'm very happy for you, Void Harpy.
And what the networks are great at, we'll use the networks to optimize this. So build an end-to-end stack with this architecture baked in.
I mean, I do think that so as long as you've got like surround video neural nets for understanding what's going on and can convert the surround video into vector space, then you basically have a video game. And if it's like if you're in Grand Theft Auto or whatever, you can make the cars drive around and pedestrians walk around without crashing. So you can do. You don't have to have a neural net for control.
Sometimes the cars crash.
But it's probably ultimately better.
Does Elon understand that in Grand Theft Auto 5, all the AI cars can communicate with each other and make sure they're not going to hit each other, whereas in real life, your Tesla is an object in and of itself and has to deal with other things outside of its own control?
So, but I think you can probably get to, in fact, I'm sure you can get to much safer than human with control and planning, primarily in C++ with perception, vision in neural nets.
Hi. My question is, we've seen other companies, for example, use reinforcement learning and machine learning to optimize power consumption in data centers and all kinds of other internal processes. My question is, is Tesla using machine learning within its manufacturing design or other engineering processes?
I discourage use of machine learning because it's really difficult unless
You're one of the main parts of your presentation today was your new machine learning platform Dojo, and the crux of your claims about Autopilot and your fucking robot is about machine learning. What?
Basically, unless you have to use machine learning, don't do it. It's usually a red flag when somebody says, we want to use machine learning to solve this task. I'm like,
that's your whole... That's your whole presentation. That's the presentation you just gave. Is you're going to use machine learning to figure out self-driving and to figure out how to make this robot work. What the fuck are you talking about, Elon?
that sounds like bullshit. So
it's like Elon just channeled me for 5 seconds.
99.9% of the time you do not need it. So yeah, so it's kind of like you reach for machine learning when you need to, but I've not found it to be a convenient, easy thing to do. It's a super hard thing to do.
Moppy Mutton says, I'm telling you, he needs to be in concussion protocol. Muddy says, oh no, he broke Hannah.
That may change if you've got a humanoid robot that can, understand normal instructions. But yeah, generally minimize use of machine learning in the factory.
Hi. Based on your videos from the simulator, it looked like a combination of graphical and neural approaches. I'm curious what the set of underlying techniques that are used for your simulator and specifically for neural rendering, if you can share.
Yeah, so we're doing, at the bottom of the stack, it's just traditional game techniques, just rasterization, real time, very similar to what you'd see in like GTA. On top of that, we're doing real-time ray tracing, and then those results were really hot off the press. We had that little asterisk at the bottom that was from last night. We're going into the neural rendering space. We're trying out a bunch of different things. We want to get to the point where the neural rendering is the cherry on the top that pushes it to the point where the models will never be able to overfit on our simulator. Currently, we're doing things similar to photorealism.
Elon needs to have this guy talk more. This guy sounds both confident and he's actually explaining things. He's using jargon, obviously, that I'm not going to understand. But he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and that's important. Psychotropic Thunder says, I work on AI image processing in an academic setting, and we actively avoid neural networks for a lot of our stuff because it's too temperamental and unreliable. Listening to him be so gung-ho about this is making me mad. Mike Mack says, I guess spitting image parody of Elon wasn't a parody at all. I've never seen that show, so I guess I'm not familiar with what it is.
Enhancement. There's a recent paper enhancing photorealism enhancement, but we can do a lot more than what they could do in that paper because we have way more labeled data, way more compute, and also we have a lot more control over our environments. And we also have a lot of people who can help us make this run at real time. But we're going to try whatever we can do to get to the point where we can train everything just with the simulator if we had to, but we will never have to because we have so much real-world data that no one else has. It's just to fill in the little gaps in the real world.
I understand, and I would completely believe that Tesla probably has more raw data on driving stuff than probably anyone else out there. I totally believe that because they gather data reportedly from your vehicles, so when you're out doing stuff they can take footage from you driving around, the data from all the sensors and stuff, and use that to help train their system. But just having a huge amount of raw data is irrelevant if you can't effectively use it to train your systems well enough to be safe, which I don't think they have. And that has nothing to do with a fucking robot either.
Yeah, the simulator is very helpful when there's these rare cases like collision avoidance right before an accident. And then, ironically, the better our cars become at avoiding accidents, the fewer accidents there are, so then our training set is small, so then we have to make them crash in the simulation. So it's like, okay, minimize potential injury to pedestrians and people in the car. You have 5 meters, you're traveling at 20 meters per second. What actions would minimize probability of injury? We can run that in sim. So, like cars driving down the wrong side of the highway, that kind of thing. Happens occasionally, but not that often.
For your humanoid context, I'm wondering if you've decided on what use cases you're going to start with and what the grand challenges are in that context to make this viable.
Well, I think for the Tesla bot, Optimus, it's basically going to start with just dealing with work that is boring, repetitive, and dangerous. Basically, what is the work that people would least like to do? Yeah.
That was a non-answer. Oh, that's a cute pun. But I think everyone knows that if you were to do machine learning to try and train a fucking robot, it's going to take a really long time. We know it's probably going to be monotonous. That didn't really answer the question.
Hi. So quick question about your simulations. Obviously, they're not perfect right now. So are you using any sort of domain adaptation techniques to basically bridge the gap between your simulated data and your actual real-world data? Because I imagine it's kind of dangerous to just deploy models which are solely trained on simulated data. So maybe some sort of explicit domain adaptation or something. Is that going on anywhere in your pipeline?
So currently, we're producing the videos straight out of the simulator, the full clips with kinematics and everything, and then we're just immediately training on them, but it's not the entire data set. It's just a small targeted segment, and we only are evaluating based on real-world video. We're paying a lot of attention to make sure we don't overfit, and if we have to start doing fancier things, we will, but currently we're not having an issue with it overfitting on the simulator. We will as we scale up the data, and that's what we're hoping to use neural rendering to bridge that gap, to push that even further out. We've already done things where we're using like the same network as in the car, but retrain it to detect sim versus real to drive our art decisions. And that's actually helped prevent some of these things as well.
Yeah, just to emphasize that overwhelmingly, the data set is the real video from the cars on the actual roads. Nothing's weirder or has more corner cases than reality. It gets really strange out there. But then if we find, say, a few examples of something very odd, and there's some very odd pictures we've seen, then in order to train it effectively, we want to create simulations, say 1,000 simulations that are variants of that quirky thing that we saw, to fill in some important gaps and make the system better. And really, all of this is about, over time, just reducing the probability of a crash or an injury, and it's called the march of nines. Like, how do you get to 99.99999?
Psychotropic Thunder says, modern AI is not suited for any sort of general usage. It has to be tailor-made to its specific application. Claiming you could just plug the car AI info into a robot is like claiming you can plug a Game Boy motherboard into a Cray supercomputer.
99% safe, and each 9 is an order of magnitude difficulty increase.
Hey all, thanks so much for the presentation. I was curious about the Tesla bot. Specifically, I'm wondering...
Don't say, can you fuck it?
If there are any specific applications that you think the humanoid form factor lends itself to?
He wants to fuck the robot.
And then secondary, because of its human form factor, is emotion or companionship at all thought about on the product roadmap at all?
Okay, my bad. He doesn't want to fuck the robot. He wants to make sweet, sweet love to the robot. I apologize. He really got up on stage in front of people and was like, amazing technology. Can I fuck it? Can I fuck it and will it love me? You can fuck the robot won't love you.
Well, we certainly hope this does not feature in a dystopian sci-fi movie. But, you know, like, really, at this point, we're saying, like, maybe this robot can, we're trying to be as literal as possible. Can it do boring, dangerous, repetitive jobs that people don't want to do? And you know, once we can have it do that, then
does fucking that dude in the audience count as a dangerous, repetitive job that no one else wants to do? Because it kind of sounds like it.
maybe we can do other things too, but that's the thing that would be really great to have. So.
God, that was, you know, I normally hate Elon, but that's pretty much the best way you could probably possibly sidestep the question, can I fuck the robot and will it love me? Oh. Don't invite that guy to the next event, please.
It could be your buddy too. I mean, you can buy one and have it be your friend and whatever. I'm sure that people will think of some very creative uses.
So.
How badly do you think Elon wanted to just straight up say, please don't fuck the robot? I would have respected that. I really would have. Lord Necro Jay-Z says the man just wants, Paso-con like chi? Don't judge? I don't know what any of that means. Lily Love Stuff says, I've seen show bots. You can fuck the robot and she will love you. Again, is this an anime thing? Someone's gonna glue a flashlight to their Tesla robot and they are gonna fuck it. I'm telling you, okay?
So firstly, thanks for the.
I say that like it's ever gonna come out. The robot's not gonna come out.
The really incredible presentation. My question's on the AI side. So one thing we've been seeing is that with some of these language modeling AIs, we've seen that scaling has just had incredible impacts in their capabilities and what they're able to do. So I was wondering whether you're seeing similar kinds of effects of scaling in your neural.
No, I just want someone to walk up and be like, Elon, does the robot have a bussy? Chrysia says, yes, Hannah, Cho Bits and Chi, or is it Kai, are an anime thing. Okay.
Networks in your applications.
The Bussy bought 5,000. Now at Best Buy.
Absolutely. A bigger network, typically we see it performs better, provided you have the data to also train it with. And this is also what we see for ourselves. Definitely in the car, we have some latency consideration to be mindful of. And so there we have to get creative to actually deploy much, much larger networks. But as we mentioned, we don't only train neural networks for what goes in the car. We have these auto-labeling pipelines that can utilize models of arbitrary size. So in fact, we've trained a number of models that are not deployable, that are significantly larger and work much better because we want 100%, like we want much higher accuracy for the auto-labeling. And so we've done a lot of that, and there we definitely see this trend.
Yeah, the order labeling is an extremely important part of this whole situation. Without the order labeling, I think we would not be able to solve the self-driving problem.
It's kind of a funny form of distillation where you're using these very massive models plus the structure of the problem to do this reconstruction, and then you distill that into neural networks that you deploy to the car. But we basically have a lot of neural networks and a lot of tasks that are never intended to go into the car.
Yeah, and also as time goes on, that you get new frames of information. So you really want
Lord Necro Jay-Z says, I only care when we finally get an AI like Cortana. I never played Halo, so I don't know anything about that.
Make sure your computer is distributed across all the information as opposed to just taking a single frame and hogging on it for, say, 200 milliseconds. You actually have newer frames coming in, so you want to use all of the information and not just use that one frame.
I think one of the things we're seeing is that the car's predictive ability is eerily good. It's really getting better than human in terms of predicting, like you say, like predict what this road will.
Cortana is the Windows version of Siri Alexa. I know that's the name of it, but I assume that person was talking about the sci-fi Cortana.
Look like when it's out of sight, like it's around the bend, and it predicts the road with very high accuracy. Predict pedestrians or cyclists where behind, where it just sees a little corner of the bicycle and a little bit through the windows of the bus. And its ability to predict things is going to be much better than humans, like really way beyond.
Right. Yeah, we see this often where we have something that is not visible, but the neural network is making up stuff that actually is very sensible. Sometimes it's eerily good, and you have to you're wondering this is in the training set. And actually in the limit, you can imagine the neural net has enough parameters to potentially remember Earth. So in the limit, it could actually give you the correct answer, and it's kind of like an HD map baked into the weights of the neural net.
Yeah.
I have a question about the design of the Tesla bot. Specifically, how important is it to maintain that humanoid form? To build hands with 5 fingers that also respects the weight limits could be quite challenging. You might have to use cable-driven, and then that also causes all kinds of issues.
I mean, this is just going to be bot version 1. I mean, we'll see. So.
Elon's like, I didn't put any thought into this. I just had to make the mannequin. Don't ask me questions about the robot. Bring back the guy who wanted to fuck the robot. Let's talk about if he can fuck it. I don't want to answer real questions.
It needs to be able to do things that people do, and be a generalized humanoid robot.
If humans continue to exist and the climate crisis doesn't kill us all, or at least enough to completely collapse civilization, someday will there be a generalized humanoid robot? Perhaps in 200 years, I don't know. In 100, who the fuck knows? But I know for a fact we aren't getting one next year, we're not getting one in 10 years, I doubt we're getting one in 20 years. I really wish people would call out Elon on this.
I mean, you could potentially have it give it 2 fingers and a thumb or something like that. For now we'll give it 5 fingers and see if that works out okay. It probably will. It doesn't need to be have incredible grip strength, but it needs to be able to work with tools. So carry.
That requires an incredible amount of dexterity. I think Elon is really, 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 really underestimating the amount of dexterity and unconscious thought that goes into even just holding and then using a screwdriver. It seems simple to us because it all is, secondhand, or, it's just innate. We know how to coordinate ourselves. But if you have to teach that to something, how do you do that? It's not just a grip strength issue, it's a dexterity issue.
Carry a bag, that kind of thing.
Hi, thanks a lot for the presentation. So an old professor of mine told me that the thing he disliked a lot about his Tesla was that the Autopilot UX didn't really inspire much confidence in the system, especially when objects are spinning, classifications are flickering. I was wondering, even if you have a good self-driving system, how are you working on convincing Tesla owners, other road users and just the general public that your system is safe and reliable?
Well, I think that's the cars. A while back, cars used to spin. They don't spin anymore. Not in. If you've seen the FSD beta videos, they're pretty solid, and they will be getting more solid.
Yeah, as you add more and more data and train these multi-cam video networks, these are pretty recent, actually, just a few months old, and it's still improving. It's not a done product.
See, they're answering the question with tech, and I understand the idea, but really, that's more of a PR question. How do you get the general public on board when the perception of Tesla's Autopilot is profoundly negative because of all the reported accidents and, just people's personal experiences with them? How do you get people to believe or understand, if it truly was the case, that it's incredibly safe? They didn't ask how you're going to make them safe. Hopefully you do. They asked, how do you convince the public that these are safe?
In our minds, we can clearly see how this is just going to be perfect vector space, because why not? All the information is there in the videos. It should produce it given lots of data and good architectures. And this is just an intermediate point in that timeline.
I mean, it's clearly headed to way better than human, without question.
It's headed there as he's... Look at the employees' faces when he says that. Oh, they look confident in that statement, don't they?
My turn? Oh, hi, here. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the short to medium-term economics of the bot. I guess I understand the long-term vision of replacing physical labor, but I also think repetitive, dangerous, and boring tasks tend to not be so highly compensated. And so I just don't see how to reproduce the, start with a supercar and then break into like the lower end of the market. How do you do that for a robot humanoid?
Well, I guess you'll just have to see.
Wow! The audacity of that non-answer is kind of staggering, isn't it? If I was a shareholder in Tesla, I'd be pretty upset with that answer. You just announced a groundbreaking piece of technology that economically doesn't really make sense, and someone asks about it, and you said, oh. Cool, Elon. Very memeable.
Hello. Hi. I was curious to know how the car AI prioritizes occupant safety versus pedestrian safety, and what thought process goes into like deciding how to bake this into the AI.
Well, I mean, the thing to appreciate is that from the computer standpoint, everything is moving slowly. So, to a human,
Mantis Poke, thanks for following.
Things are moving fast. To the computer, they are not moving fast. So I think this is, in reality, somewhat of a false dichotomy. Not that it will never happen, but it will be very rare.
Is he going to completely sidestep the question? He's going to say, well, it'll never be an issue because our cars will be so safe they'll never have to choose between a pregnant pedestrian and a car full of old ladies. Like, no, you got to answer the question, Elon. That's kind of an important ethical discussion around self-driving vehicles, is how do they prioritize the safety of pedestrians versus occupants?
If you think it was like, going the other direction, like rendering, with full ray tracing, neural.
Ray tracing? That's used to like simulate sunlight and shit. What are you talking about?
Net enhanced graphics on something like Cyberpunk or any advanced video game.
Did he just fucking cite Cyberpunk 2077 in his answer about the safety of his self-driving cars? Oh my god!
Doing 60 frames a second, perfectly rendered. Like, how long would it take a person to even render?
Has Elon not heard what a disaster Cyberpunk 2077 was? He's still citing it like it's a thing people like.
One frame. And without any mistakes.
It's like every 6 months he tries to look up, like, what do nerds like, so I can market to them and they'll help me pump cryptocurrency. But he just hasn't caught up yet, so he doesn't know what happened with Cyberpunk.
Can't be done.
Amazed he didn't bring up GTA. He brought up GTA earlier.
I mean, it would take like a month just to render one frame out of 60 in a second in a video game.
I assume the point he's trying to make is it can make decisions so fast it'll solve the problem before it even becomes a problem, which is bullshit because we've seen Teslas crash in this stream. Colston says Grimes was in Cyberpunk and she was just as insane in there as she was in real life.
It's, computers are fast and humans are slow.
So your answer to how does your machine prioritize the lives and safety of pedestrians versus occupants, your answer is computers are fast, people are slow. That's not an answer to the question even a little bit.
I mean, for example, on the rocket side,
I feel like the body language of the employees is telling me they're very uncomfortable.
you cannot steer the rocket to orbit. We actually hooked up a joystick to see if anyone could steer the rocket to orbit, but you need to react.
Elon, how many pedestrians are on the way to orbit?
At roughly.
Because that's what the question was about.
6-7 hertz, people can't do it. Not even that's pretty low, you know. We're talking more like aiming for like 30 hertz type of thing.
His answer implies that his machine is infallible, and we know for a fact it is not.
Hi. With the over here, with hardware 3, there's been lots of speculation that with larger nets, it's hitting the limits of what it can provide. How much headroom has the extended compute modes provided, and what point would hardware 4 be required, if at all?
Well, I'm confident that hardware 3 or the full self-driving computer 1 will be able to achieve full self-driving at a safety level much greater than a human, probably, I don't know, at least 200 or 300% better than a human.
I feel like all the engineers are listening to this going, oh God, why is he saying that?
Then
Rachelology says, the world isn't a video game. Jesus fucking Christ, it's full of real people who aren't just bits of data. I mean, when you're the second richest man on the planet, does it feel that way? Kinda doubt it. I kinda feel like he probably thinks of everyone else as NPCs.
Obviously, there will be a few.
Except for maybe Jeff Bezos, who to him is like the boss that he has to defeat.
Future hardware 4 or full self-driving computer 2, which we'll probably introduce with the Cybertruck. So maybe in about a year or so. That is probably, well, that'll be about 4 times more capable, roughly. But it's really just going to be like, can we take it from, say, for argument's sake, 300% safer than a person to 1,000% safer? You know, just like there are
It's not safer than a human at all at this point, Elon.
people on the road who, with varying driving abilities, but we still let people drive. You don't have to be the world's best driver to be on the road.
So presumably you expect to have the liability then, right, Elon? Because if you cause an accident and you're a driver, you're liable. So since you're saying that you just need to accept some level of risk, that means that Tesla is going to accept responsibility for every single crash that happens under Autopilot, no questions asked. Because that's sort of the logical endpoint of the argument you're making. But I'm guessing you're not going to accept that responsibility?
as we see. So, yeah. You guys want to say anything? All right.
So are you worried at all, since you don't have any depth sensors on the car, that people might try like adversarial attacks, like printed out photos or something to try to trick the RGB neural network?
Yeah, like what? Pull some like Wile E. Coyote stuff, you know, like paint the tunnel on the wall. It's like, oops. We haven't really seen much of that. I mean, for sure, like right now, if you most likely if you had like a T-shirt with a T-shirt with like a stop sign on it, which I actually have a T-shirt with a stop sign on it. And then you like flash the car, it will stop.
Safer than a human.
I proved that. But we can obviously, as we see these adversarial attacks, then we can train the cars to, you know, notice that, well, it's actually a person wearing a T-shirt with a stop sign on it, so it's probably not a real stop sign.
Then you just start putting human heads on the real stop signs so they blow right through them.
Hi, my question is about the prediction and the planning. I'm curious, how do you incorporate uncertainty into your planning algorithms? Do you just basically assume, you mentioned that you run the autopilot for all of the other cars on the road. Do you assume that they're all going to follow those rules, or are you accounting for the possibility that, well, they might be bad drivers, for example?
Yeah, we do account for multimodal futures. It's not that we just choose one. We account for, okay, this person can actually do many things, and we use their actual physics and kinematics to make sure that they're not doing a thing that would interfere with us before we act. So if there's any uncertainty, we are conservative and then would yield to them. Of course, there's a limit to this, because if you're too conservative, then it's probably not practical. So at some point, we have to assert, and even then we make sure that the other person can yield to us and act sensibly.
I should say, before we introduce something into the fleet, we will run it in shadow mode, and we'll see what would this neural net, for example, have done in this particular situation. And then effectively, the drivers are training the net. So if the neural net would have controlled and say veered right, but the person actually went left, and it's like, oh, there was a difference. Why was there that difference?
But I thought you said you wanted it to be safer than a human, Elon. Now you're training it to act like a human? That's weird. Oh, poo.
For example, have done in this particular situation. And then effectively, the drivers are training.
Joe Aconite says, M, make outrageous claims. U, utilize the press. S, suppress negativity with attitude. K, kill pedestrians, the Musk method.
Training the net. So if the neural net would have controlled and say veered right, but the person actually went left, and it's like, oh, there was a difference. Why was there that difference?
Yeah, and secondly, we also...
All the human drivers are essentially training the neural net as to what...
I like that the actual guy who works on it and knows what he's doing deferred to his boss, who has no expertise in this field. Meet the artist using ritual magic to trap self-driving cars. Yeah, they drew circles and stuff around them, so they thought. Yeah. That's funny.
Is the correct course of action, assuming it doesn't then end up in a crash. Doesn't count in that case.
Yeah, and secondly, we have various estimates of uncertainty like flicker, and when we observe this, we actually say if you're not able to see something, we actually slow down the car to be, again, safe and get more information before acting. Yeah, we don't want to be brazen and just go into something that we don't know about. We only go into places where we know about.
Yeah, yeah. It should be like, aspirationally, the car should be the less it knows, the slower it goes.
Yeah.
That's just
not true at some point, but now it's
should be speed proportionate to confidence.
Thanks for the presentation. So I am...
Muddy says... Okay, so basically the quantum fuck shit stimulates the blank, and that's why the computer's super big boy brain's the best in the whole world. Mr. Muskrat, probably.
I'm curious. Appreciate the fact that the FSD is improving, but if you have the ability to improve one component along the AI stack that presented today, whether it is simulation, data collections, planning and control, etc., which one, in your opinion, is going to have the biggest impact for the performance of the full self-driving system?
It's really the area under the curve of these multiple points, and if you improve anything, it should improve the area.
I mean, the short term, it's arguably we need all of the nets to be surround video. And so we still have some legacy. This is very short term. Obviously, we're fixing it fast. But there's still some nets that are not using surround video. And I think ideally that all use surround video. Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of puzzle pieces out there for success. We just need more strong people to also just help us make it work.
Yeah, that is the actual bottleneck.
So that is the actual bottleneck, I would say, and really one of the reasons that we are putting on this event.
Exactly. Well said, Andre. That there's just a tremendous amount of work to do to make it work. So that's why we need talented people to join and solve the problem.
Thank you for the great presentation. Lots of my questions answered. But one thing is, when imagine that now you have a large amount of data, even unnecessary. How do you consider that? Like there is a forgetting problem in neural networks. Like how are you considering those aspects? And also another one, are you considering an online learning or continuous learning, so that maybe each driver can have their version of self-driving?
That seems like a nightmare. Why would you want that?
I think I know the literature that you're referring to. That's not some of the problems that we've seen, and we haven't done too much continuous learning. We trained the system once, we fine-tuned a few times. That sort of goes into the car. We need something stable that we can evaluate extensively, and then we think that that's good, and that goes into cars. So we don't do too much learning on spot or continuous learning, and don't face the forgetting problem.
But there will be settings that you can say, like, if you are you typically a conservative driver, or do you want to drive fast or slow? You know, it's like, I'm late for the airport. Could you go faster than, basically the kind of instructions you'd give to your Uber driver. It's like, I'm late for the flight, please hurry.
You absolutely should not have a drive faster button on your self-driving car. It should drive the speed that is safe, period. What are you doing?
Or take it easy, or whatever your style is. So let's take a few more questions here, and then we'll call it a day.
All right. So as our models have become more and more capable, and I guess you're deploying these models into the real world, one thing I guess that's possible is for AI to become more, I guess, misaligned with what humans desire. So I guess, is that something that you guys are worried about as you guys deploy more and more robots, or
more and more robots? How about we get one, and then we'll talk about this?
You guys, we'll solve that problem when we get there.
Yeah, I think that we should be worried about AI. Now, what we're trying to do here is, I'd say, narrow AI, pretty narrow, just make the car drive better than a human. And then have the humanoid robot be able to do basic stuff. At the point at which you sort of start to get to superhuman intelligence, I don't know, all bets are off.
Again, he's just opining into sci-fi bullshit that has nothing to do with real-world machine learning or artificial intelligence. He's talking about Skynet.
But and that's that'll probably happen. But what we're trying to do here at Tesla is make useful AI that people love and is unequivocally good. That's our, we'll try to aim for that. Okay, maybe one more question.
Hi, my question is about the camera sensor. In the beginning of the talk, you had mentioned about building a synthetic animal. And if you think about it, a camera is a very poor approximation of a human eye. And a human eye does a lot more than take a sequence of frames. Have you looked into, these days are cameras like event cameras. Have you looked into them? Or are you looking into a more flexible camera design or building your own camera, for example?
Well, with Hardware 4, we will have a next generation camera. But I have to say that the current cameras, we have not reached the limit of the current cameras. And I'm confident we can achieve.
There's only 2 minutes left, guys. I promise it's almost done.
Full self-driving with much higher safety than humans with the current cameras and current compute hardware. But it'd be good to be 1,000% better rather than 300% better.
It's not 300% better right now, Elon.
We'll see continued evolution on all levels in pursuit of that goal. And I think in the future, people will look back and say, wow, I can't believe we had to drive these cars ourselves. Self-driving cars will just be just a normal, like self-driving elevators. Elevators used to have elevator operators, and there's someone there with a big relay switch operating the elevator.
We've seen movies too, Elon.
And then every now and then they'd get tired or make a mistake and shear somebody in half. So now we made the elevators automatic, and you just go and you press the button, and you can be in a 100-story skyscraper and don't really worry about it. Just go in and press the button, and the elevator takes you where you want to go. But it used to be that all elevators were operated manually. And it'll be the same thing like for cars. All cars will be automatic. And electric, obviously. So there will still be some gasoline cars and some manual cars, just like there are still some horses. So, all right, well, thanks everyone for coming, and hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you for the great questions. All right.
Oh, look, it's the CG fake robot again that moves like a human. Again, here's the call to join the team. Are they just absolutely bleeding talent? Because it feels like they mentioned, please come and join our AI team about 20 times during this presentation. Wow, their team must be really, really, really needing new influxes of talent or something. Still, interesting. Yeah. The robot's bullshit. That's about all I have to say. Okay. I'm probably done for the evening. Save this for conspiracy things. Let's see who we're gonna raid. That's Twitter. Whoopsie. So overall, I'm just kind of sick of Did you get it out of your chest, Hannah? I will be at Jake's. I don't know what that means. Oh, Jake is on. Duh. Vine Sauce team is hosting a charity thing. Is this them? They don't appear to be live.
Consideration, like momentum, you just...
I mean, they already have over 2,000 viewers. I don't think my 100 or whatever are gonna do anything. This is a thing, though, and there's a link in the chat if anyone wants to go do that. Who am I gonna raid? Where'd Jake go? I thought he's... Fuck it, sure. I've been raiding Jake a lot, but why not? Moppy Mutton says tomorrow, question mark? I don't know what that means. Alright, have a good night, everyone. Tomorrow, question mark? Are you asking what we're doing tomorrow? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Alright, have a good night. I'll see you guys later. Yeah. That's it. I don't know how to end this one. Awkward ending. Awkward ending stream. The end.